Welcome to the latest Motley Fool scoreboard. I'm Anand Chakabaloo. We've got longtime fools Matt Frankel and Lou Whiteman giving a 1 to 10 rating to the site I've gotten everything from goofy custom hats to my wedding ring from. It's Etsy, ticker symbol ETSY. Talk about the business first, including industry and competition. A 10 is invincible. A 1 is hopeless. Lou's going with a 6. Matt's going with a 7. How do you get to your 7, Matt?
Yeah, so I just to kind of echo what you just said. I mean, my biggest experience was with Etsy was my wedding. My wife didn't like all the generic looking wedding decorations that she found at stores. So pretty much every decor item we bought for the reception was from Etsy. So I mean, I got to give them credit for taking on Amazon and winning. It's not often you see companies do that, especially to the extent Etsy did when Amazon completely attacked them with the Amazon handmade. But that was a long time ago. And I mean, since the pandemic especially, we haven't really seen that much to be excited about. Sales or gross merchandise sales on the platform were actually down more than 3% year over year in the latest quarter. Revenue's growing a little bit. Etsy is the clear leader in handmade and unique goods. But at this point, I kind of have to wonder how much growth potential there is, especially when they're losing sellers. Their active seller base is down 3%.
Guys, you do know that wedding rings are available at the arcade machines too. You don't have to spend all that money on Etsy. But look, on Etsy, what it does very well. The issue has been when it tries to do anything else, things don't go well. We've written down Depop. We sold Elo 7, 2 previous attempts to diversify. The good news is they're more focused. The platform works at what it does, but it's hard to see Etsy as anything more than a niche retailer. There are opportunities to grow that niche, but it is just a niche. Kind of like Matt said, it's the question is kind of the inability, the what's next is what holds the score back for me.
The key on that, Lou, is it was my wedding ring, not my wife's.
Gotcha. That makes sense then.
Totally different beast.
Yeah.
Etsy's not flying there. Let's talk about management. 10 is Warren Buffett. A 1 is Homer Simpson. Lou's at a 6. Matt's at a 7.
Yeah, so I give him a 7. Josh Silverman, he does have a very impressive resume. I mean, he was a leader of consumer products at Amex. He was the CEO of Skype before it was part of Microsoft. So far at Etsy, it hasn't been that impressive. To be fair, great strategy during the pandemic. If you remember, Etsy pivoted and focused on masks in the early days of the pandemic, and it really made their sales soar, increased engagement on the platform. But sales have been I mentioned already, have been declining, and investors haven't been rewarded. The stock has been it's trading at 1/5 of what it was at its 2021 peak. I totally agree with what Lou said earlier on diversification. His acquisition strategy leaves a lot to be desired. Hopefully they learn lessons from it and move on, but I kind of want to know what the next steps are, and it's not totally clear at this point.
Yeah, what Matt said. I mean, it's Silverman in my mind. He loses points for doing deals like Depop and Elo 7. But look, as the leader, he deserves a few points for admitting his mistakes, dealing with them, and moving on, which you don't often see. At least they didn't double down. Overall, I think he's a good product manager who has done a great job managing what he has. I don't know who out there could figure out what's next. So he is a good shepherd for kind of the existing business. Maybe not the person who could answer that existential question from here, but honestly, I don't know who can.
Matt talking about those masks. I remember they would break them out and tell you, and it was in hindsight, especially it's a shockingly large percentage of the business where, especially as someone who owns Etsy, wow, how can it be that big of people aren't buying other stuff? Let's talk about financials. 10 is a fortress. A 1 is yikes. Lou and Matt are both at a 6. Let's start with Matt.
I said financials are meh. Merchandise sales, I mentioned, are down 3%. Most revenue and profit metrics in the most recent quarter are up by 2 to 3%. Nothing exciting. The management blames slow sales totally on macro headwinds. Which, to be fair, discretionary spending has slowed down a bit. The company does have over $1 billion in cash. It's very cash flow positive, almost $700 million over the last year. So there's some things to like here, but I don't totally buy the explanation that it's all about the economy, and that's why Etsy's slow right now.
Yeah, I'll kind of buy it. Yes, it's a tough retail environment, but the metrics are what they are. It's a solidly profitable business, like Matt said. I think it should return to growth in an improving economy. There should be some benefit there, but it seems like there's only so much this business can do. I hate to be so boring with another six, but it's the same theme. No reason to panic, but also not a lot of reason to get excited in my mind.
You can only pull we'll just take more from our sellers lever until we talked about fewer sellers. Let's talk about valuation. Matt, how well will Etsy stock do over the next 5 years? How safe is it? A 10 is a sure thing. A 1 is a lottery ticket.
Yeah, I say over the next 5 years, 10 to 15%, a safety score of 5. If the economy is strong over the next 5 years, the stock should be able to ride that tailwind higher. But that is a big if. A recession could easily make this a less than 0% return case. So I don't want to say this is a binary outcome because, like Lou's kind of talked about a few times, it does have that core business that no one does better. That should kind of keep it through whatever is going on. But I don't see it thriving unless the economy is really good.
So we've talked about the economy. We've talked about it's been a tough year for Etsy. So we kind of have a good starting point for this 5 years. And with that, I said 10 to 15% because I do think that there should be some bounce back in the shares as it returns to growth. And I think that will happen as the economy gets better over 5 years. God help us if the economy doesn't get better, right? But again, over the longer term, I just don't know if I think it's a market beater for safety. I'm at a boring 6 again. Again, I believe the core business is sustainable. I don't see it going away. But these big picture questions, where long-term growth comes from, makes me think, well, I'd almost rather an index fund. Sorry, Etsy.
Top it time. Lou, what do you like better than Etsy?
So Amazon was unable to unseat Etsy when it comes to craft goods, but it sure as heck beaten the pants off of them when it comes to diversification. In retail, I like diversification. Amazon's a better buy.
Yeah, I said Mercado Libre for pretty much the same reasons. Except that they are getting some of the mom and pop sellers in their markets. I think they have a lot of potential there. There's a lot there. Mercado Libre's markets are in much earlier stages of online penetration, so I see them having a big opportunity to become the Etsy of Mexico, Brazil, whatever.
Thank you to both Matt and to Lou. They've given Etsy, to use Matt's phrase, meh overall score of 6.4 out of 10, which is short of the 8.0 that would force me to own shares. I do own some shares. I've been selling over the years, I think. Look out for a new scoreboard every market day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Next up is Redfin. Till then, Fool on.
Well, remember Etsy bought Elo 7 and called it the Etsy of Brazil. Yeah. And now they've shut it down, so there really is no Etsy of Brazil.
Mercado Libre.
So Mercado Libre. Yeah.